I met Blake Edwards, the director. Yes. But we just sat and talked, and he didn't really explain anything about the character. He just said, you know, she's this chorus girl, and he asked me if I wanted to do the movie, and you know, I said to him that I had seen Breakfast at Tiffany's like 11 times, and you know, the Pink Panthers, and Days of Wine and Roses, and I said, I'll do anything for you, anything. And so I went home, and the script was what he said, which was, she was a generic chorus girl, you know, great, but a chorus girl. So I thought, what can I do to make her normal? So I came up with this whole history for her, which was that she lived in a family of like 12, so she had to shout all the time to get heard. For real. And then she lived in the Lower East Side, and that's where that accent came from. And that she worked in a place like Woolworths. For those of you who are too young,
this crowd knows Woolworths.
Yes, and she wanted to be a movie star, and so she would look through all these movie magazines all the time, and she focused on Jean Harlow. So I copied all the makeup. I copied the little heart-shaped beauty mark that Jean Harlow had, and that's how she came to be. And I called Blake, but he was in London, which is where we shot, and he couldn't come to the phone, so his producer came online, and I said, well, look, you know, I'd really like her to be blonde, and I love all these, you know, things that I came up with, and he said, yeah, do it, and he sent his whole makeup and hair people, the wig people, and costume people to my house, and in my bedroom, we created this character, Grauman. Yeah.
How exciting that you had such a hand in so much about her. It wasn't just written out for you on the page.
It was not. I mean, the only thing that was written out was that was in the script.
I'd love to know if there were other performances. I mean, you mentioned Jean Harlow, but I'd love to. I mean, I think of Gene Hagen in Singing in the Rain. I mean, there's a history of. It's a rare thing for a comedic performance to be nominated for an Academy Award. It does not often happen, but you did it because you're so locked into this woman. Were there performances from the past that you had in mind that you thought were something to be inspired by?
You know, honestly, no. I mean, I did do the Jean Harlow makeup and sort of look of her, but you know, I wanted to create my own character, and what I loved about her was that she was street savvy, very smart, kind of manipulative, but you know, also lovable in her own sort of wacky way. So I just wanted to create somebody that was very real to me, you know, that I could take into, a lot of it was improvised. A lot of it was improvised on my part, but because Blake found out pretty early on that I was actually pretty comfortable with doing improvisation, and so he would keep the camera rolling, and you know, that whole scene on the train, for those of you who haven't seen it, like, right, where I'm like, you know, so angry, all of that was improvised. No, it was all, and you know, they locked the door.
This must be a rare experience. This isn't how it often goes.
No, it's not. And he was so, he loved it, you know, and if he hadn't loved it, obviously it wouldn't be in there, but no, it doesn't go that way on many occasions.
What was it like for you to then actually delve into the script and realize that you were going to have all of these wonderful moments with James Garner, Julie Andrews, Robert Preston? I mean, that must have been thrilling to think about.
It was thrilling. It was thrilling. I loved working with Julie. She's such an angel and such a generous performer, you know, and the funny thing about James Garner was, you know, sometimes actors like to relate to their other, you know, performers in the character. So he would always relate to me as Norma, which wasn't so much fun. Because he would be sort of dismissive of her.
Seriously?
Yeah, really, I'm not like that. Please. But, you know, it was a great company and it was a great atmosphere. Blake Edwards didn't feel that people could be funny after 8 hours because they were tired. Did you ever hear that?
No, but it
It's
makes
a
total
famous
sense.
story, and we stopped working at 4 or 5 in the afternoon, which is unheard of. And our day was basically 10 hours, which was, you know, an amazing thing. But he thought that people had to be sharp and, you know, reactive and, you know, on it to be funny. Yeah.
So you've mentioned a couple of the priceless moments. I love, of course, the Chicago, Illinois number. Oh, you all did too. What was your reaction to seeing that choreography for the first time?
Oh my God, I was mortified. Well, first of all, that number was not in the script.
Oh.
No, not in the script. She didn't have a disco number.
Oh.
And yeah, and one day in dailies, you know, when you see the day before, you see that the film from the day before that you shot, he leaned over Julie, I was sitting next to Julie, and he said, "Do you still sing to me?" And I said, "Yeah, I do." And he said, "Do you still dance?" And I said, I do. And he said, "I want to see more of Norma." Yeah, really. And he flew Henry Mancini and Lesley Ann to London. I know. And they wrote that staggering number, and, you know, and then showed me the choreography. I was like, okay. I used to tell Blake that I was, you know, shy, because actually I am in real life. But after I did that number, he said, "I'd never believe you again."
It's great. How long did you have to learn it then? If it was
We had 3 weeks.
3 weeks. Okay, that's reasonable.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Of course, in that moment, there's a little bit of a Marilyn Monroe 7-year itch kind of a moment where the dress blows up. Of course, the movie came out decades after, but it takes place in the 1930s. So what we learned is that you were the inspiration for this moment. Right, exactly. At what point, this is a strange question to ask you, I don't know if it's something you've thought about. At what point during this whole process did you start thinking to yourself, I could get an Oscar nomination for this?
Oh, never. Honestly, I remember at the time, my publicist called me in London and she said, how's it going? And I said, I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying things I've never done before. And then the first time I saw it was at Blake's house, and it was Blake and Julie and Alex the cast, and James Garner and myself, and I was so shocked seeing myself that way, and I went home and I cried for a long time. I thought, my career's over. It's just over. No one's going to ever take me seriously again. Yeah. It's true. It's really true. So I never thought about it.
I love this. Crazy. So on that day then, so you get nominated, but not only do you get nominated for an Academy Award, but so does Robert Preston, so does Julie Andrews. I mean, I just can't imagine what that must have felt like for you.
I was on another movie, I was shooting another movie in Florida.
What was it?
And
I didn't have that. Oh, I've seen that one. Right? Remember that one, Christopher Atkins? Did anyone see that? Just me on HBO at late.
To be honest.
So racy.
It's racy, it's true. Anyway, yeah. And I didn't even, honestly, I didn't even keep track of, like, I knew that MJ was doing this incredible campaign for me, but I wasn't a part of it because I was working at different times, you know, and I got this call at something like 6 in the morning from a man named Joel Silver who produces movies, you know, and he was a friend, and he said, "You know that, you know," and it was an out-of-body experience. They had to stop filming that day, all these, you know, outlets like came tonight, you know, all these different outlets flew in to see my reaction and all that stuff, and I was just it was an out-of-body experience. It was thrilling.
It's so great.
Yeah.
One thing I love about so much of the stuff that you've done in your career, and you and I were talking about this a little bit backstage, is that for an LGBTQ plus audience, you are so important. From Cinderella to Clue to this, you are someone who speaks so deeply to many audiences, but particularly a gay audience. What has that meant to you, and has that been a surprise to you?
You know, I wouldn't say it's a surprise. I'm thrilled, and because I love them. I really do, and I think those particular, especially Clue and Victoria, they're such larger-than-life kind of women in a way, you know, and I think that's really a part of the appeal. But I was telling you backstage, you know, I have gotten incredible response from many people, but two specific people who happen to be brilliant directors, and they told me that watching Cinderella, and they're both gay men, and they told me that watching Cinderella, you know, formed their desire, number one, to do, one was Rob Marshall, it's not a secret, to do musical theater, and the other was Lee Daniels, who said that the pain that Cinderella went through and the ostracizing, he felt as a child, and he wrote about this, so it's not a secret, you know, and he said he used to sit in a corner of his bedroom and sing in my own little corner, and it gave him comfort. So, I don't know, I think the combination of, you know, whatever I brought of my own experience to those things, and then the fabulousness of those two women.
Of you.
You know, thank you.
So the last thing I want to ask before we watch the movie is, how did you then come around on this? Because to hear you say that you watched this movie for the first time and thought your career was over, when did you realize, like, oh, I'm going to be okay? Was it before the Oscar nomination, or was it on that day?
It was before the Oscar nomination. I was going to see the premiere of it, of Victoria, at the Schubert Theater, which no longer exists, with my agent at the time, Ron Meyer, and and I heard and saw the reaction of the people in the flesh, in the moment, and I thought, oh, I'm going to be okay. But it was really then.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited for you all to see this on this big, beautiful screen. Lesley Ann Warren, thank you so much.